Welcome to your November 2021 horoscope. My name is Cailin, and today I'm going to be covering the major transits for the month ahead using tropical astrology and the whole sign system. I strongly recommend that you watch your horoscope for your ascendant sign first and foremost because it will be the most accurate for you overall. Having said that, if you've got time to watch your sun and moon sign horoscopes as well, go for it because the sun sign horoscope will tell you more about your life goals and your career, whereas the moon sign horoscope will pertain more to your living circumstances and your family life. Now, I've got an exciting announcement to make. I am putting together 2022 horoscopes for all 12 zodiac signs. So these horoscopes will be super in-depth and you'll be able to purchase yours on sale if you buy during November or in the first 2 weeks of December. So these will retail for $16.99 US, but you'll be able to purchase yours on sale during that period of time for just $12.99. So please make sure you are subscribed to the channel and checking the website regularly because there will be an announcement once these are available for sale. And now let's dive into the November horoscopes. Hi Aquarius, Sun, Moon and Risings. Welcome to your November 2021 horoscope. Before I get into your reading today, I'm actually going to do something a little bit different and pull an animal spirit totem card just to see what energies are going to be with you for the month ahead. Okay, we've got the bear. So to me, this speaks about coming out of hibernation, okay, because bears like to hibernate, they like to eat lots of food, and then they just basically retreat for months and months and months. So I feel like this is about you coming out of hiding. So maybe you haven't really wanted to show some kind of transformation off to the world. Maybe you've been harboring some kind of secret and you haven't really wanted to share it with other people. On a different level though, this kind of makes me think about finding that sweet spot, because obviously bears love honey. So this is about rediscovering the things that bring you joy as well. Okay, so let's get into your horoscope for the month. On the 30th of October, Mars enters the sign of Scorpio, which means it will be transiting your 10th house. Now, Mars will be in your 10th house for the whole of November, and it will be there through till around mid-December. So wherever Mars goes, this is where we're putting a lot of our energy and our attention, and we've basically just got to focus on the matters of that house. So the 10th house represents our career, our vocation, it represents our public reputation, and it also rules over things like status changes. So with Mars here in your 10th house, for those of you who are currently employed, this can see you basically having lots of responsibilities in the workplace. Now, if you're not currently employed, but you are seeking out work, this is a great time for you to actually make connections and basically do a lot of networking. And Mercury will be joining Mars in Scorpio on the 7th of November. So we will see Mars, Mercury, and the Sun all transiting your 10th house. So this can see many of you Aquarians being in the public eye. So if you are somehow in the public eye, or if you are looking at bolstering your reputation, this is a great time to do so. Now, this can see you having some very difficult conversations or dealings with your boss or with someone who is in a position of authority. And that is because the 10th house rules over authority figures. Just be careful when it comes to speeding tickets, because the combination of Mercury and Mars in your 10th house shows that you can be pulled up for basically putting the pedal to the metal. Now, for those of you who are retired or who are just taking a long break from the workforce, with Mercury and Mars in your 10th house, this can see you actually figuring out what you want to do with the time that you have. So you may be looking at taking on some kind of position of leadership. You may be wanting to become well known for your creative gifts and talents, as represented by Mercury ruling over the 5th house. Now, with Mars ruling over your 3rd house, maybe you're interested in putting together some kind of publication or developing some kind of new technology, and this is something that you can become well known for. Now, on the 4th or 5th of November, there will be a new moon in Scorpio at 12 degrees in your 10th house, and it will be in a wide conjunction with Mars in Scorpio, and Mars is the ruler of this new moon. So this means that whatever new beginning or new chapter is taking off in your life, it will be a very powerful one at that. Now, this new moon will be in exact opposition to Uranus in Taurus in your 4th house, and it will be squaring Saturn in Aquarius in your 1st house. So this is a T-square formation, which basically shows that there's a lot of challenges to overcome, but that the rewards can be extremely fulfilling and satisfying. So new moons indicate a new beginning starting somewhere in our lives. Now, we may not see this come to fruition for another 6 months until the full moon in Scorpio, or it may even be the full moon in Scorpio, which comes after that one, which will be in 18 months' time. So with regard to work or your career and your vocation, this can see some of you planting the seeds when it comes to changing jobs, getting a promotion, changing departments. Maybe you want to change industries altogether. Maybe you're making plans to become self-employed. Now, on a different level, you may be looking at resigning from your job, and maybe you've got a 6 or 18-month plan in place, or you could even be planning to retire. Now, the 10th house represents positions of leadership across the board. So even if you are not working, whether you are retired, whether you're just taking a break, whether you just, don't feel like working for however long, this can see you taking on a new position of leadership. Now, we want to look at what Mars is doing. Mars rules over your 3rd house. So you may be leading a team, or you may have some kind of project that you've started. This could be in the workforce, or this could be just your own project that you are commencing, which involves you collaborating with other individuals. And that's because Mars rules over the 3rd house, and the 3rd house represents working in a small team with other people. And the 3rd house is connected to projects and project management anyway. Now, if you are the first point of call in your family to deal with a crisis, maybe you have to help people with paperwork, maybe you manage property for your family members, or maybe you are like the person who translates for your parents or for people in your family who cannot speak the language of the country that you reside in. This can see you having a lot of responsibilities with respect to that. So maybe you've got to deal with some kind of family crisis. Maybe you're helping your family sell their property or put it on the market, or maybe you're helping them to purchase a property. Now, the 10th house is also connected to a change in status. So this can see a lot of you Aquarians having some huge change take place with regard to how you refer to yourself and how other people refer to you in terms of like your reputation preceding you. Now, on the 10th of November, we will see Mercury and Mars forming an exact conjunction in Scorpio in your 10th house. So this can indicate you having difficult conversations with an authority figure or with a parent, or maybe even with your boss. And that's because Mars represents being assertive, but it can also lead to aggressiveness and arguments and discord. Now, Mercury rules over communications. So it's very easy with this transit to have conversations kind of escalate out of control. This transit will require that you use tact and that you are very discreet in your dealings with these individuals. And that is because Mercury rules over your 8th house. So this represents discretion, this represents secrecy, and this represents very, very sensitive information. So make sure you are gathering all of the information first. And I say this because not only does Mercury represent information, but Mars rules over your 3rd house, which represents gathering data and just having all your facts straight before you initiate this difficult conversation with a parent, an authority figure, or someone who is in a position of authority. Now, you may be having disagreements with your parents or with a parental figure or some kind of figure who you respect, and this could be about your friends, this could be about your relatives or your siblings. And I say this because Mars rules over your third house, which represents those individuals. Now, if you are having a potentially hairy conversation with your boss or with someone in management, it may be about your creative contribution to the business or to the company. And I say that because Mercury rules over your fifth house, which represents your creative gifts and your talents. Now, on a different level, with Mercury ruling over your fifth house, which represents romance, some of you may be having a romantic relationship with someone in the office in secret. Okay, this is also represented by Mercury being co-workers and colleagues, and Mercury ruling over your eighth house shows a secret relationship. So it may basically come about that someone discovers your romantic fling in the office, and now it's like you need to make HR, which is human resources, aware, or maybe make your manager aware before someone, gets to that person first. Now, on a different level, with Mercury and Mars being conjunct in your 10th house, for those of you who are in a position of leadership, whether you are a boss or whether you work for a non-for-profit or whatever, this can see you needing to make some very difficult decisions. And this could basically impact your website, a news publication that you run, a social media account that you run, or you may be having some creative ideas about how you want to rebrand yourself or what you want your business to stand for or your publication. Like I said, this does not only apply to those of you who are in the workforce. Now, of course, the 10th house, like I said, represents your public reputation. Maybe you want to be seen as a leader. Maybe you want to be viewed as an entrepreneur or a pioneer. Now, with Mars ruling over your third house, you may be wanting to become known for your communication skills. The third house represents self-made worth. So even if you are not working currently, or if you are, basically at the very, I don't want to say bottom, but if you're only just starting out in a job and you're like the last person in the hierarchy and you feel like you need to work your way up to the top, this transit is great for having exciting and brilliant new ideas which you can act upon to create self-made worth. So don't let wherever you are in life stop you from what it is that you want to achieve. Now, on the 14th of November, we will see Mercury in Scorpio in your 10th house, making an exact opposition to Uranus in Taurus in your 4th house. 4 days later, we're going to see the same opposition take place between Mars in Scorpio in your 10th house and Uranus in Taurus in your 4th house. So I'm going to interpret these two transits together. First of all, in terms of the time period of when these will be active, it will be from about the 12th or the 13th of November through till about the 19th or the 20th. So pretty much that whole week, you'll be experiencing these sorts of energies or these sorts of events taking place. A career opportunity may arise quite suddenly and out of the blue. This is thanks to the influence of Uranus, which is of course one of your ruling planets. Now, this transit or these two transits indicate that some kind of trade-off is required, or maybe even a sacrifice, or at the very least, you do have to act on this opportunity really, really quickly. So the 4th house represents our living circumstances. So this career opportunity could require you to relocate really suddenly, or it may be to somewhere which is totally unexpected, or maybe it's somewhere that you hadn't really considered living. At the very least, it could just be a culture shock and it just will take you a lot of time to adjust to this new city or town or whatever. Now, on a different level, You may be looking at investing in a property or in a piece of land, and this could be with other people. And I'm saying this because Mercury rules over your 8th house, which represents mutual resources. So this doesn't need to be a career opportunity. Maybe you've never purchased a home before, and now this is activating a status change where you can say, I'm a homeowner now, or I'm an investor now. Or this could be you renting for the first time. Now, on a different level, if this is impacting you on the career front, you may actually need to come back from parental leave earlier than you expected, or you may need to cut a holiday short. And I'm saying that because Mercury rules over your 5th house, which represents vacations and fun, and it also represents children. And of course, this opposition to Uranus, which is your ruling planet, in your 4th house, which represents your family life, can indicate that you basically need to employ the assistance of someone else to look after your children or engage their services, whether this is like a babysitter, or maybe you're simply asking family members to look after your children because you're going to either need to travel for work or you need to take on a work commitment which will make you unavailable to look after them. Now, on a different level, this career opportunity could just see you changing teams really suddenly. Maybe you work in a certain department at work and now you've got to change floors or change teams, or maybe this opportunity is one where you can become a leader of a small team. This opposition indicates that another person will somehow be involved or they will be impacted by whatever takes place during this week. So whether this is with a boss, an authority figure, your children, your significant other, your parents, someone that you live with, in any case, someone will be impacted by the decisions and the choices that you make. And yes, these are going to be your choices because the opposition is to your ruling planet. So this is about what you are deciding to do. Now, on the 19th of November, there will be a full moon lunar eclipse at 27 degrees in Taurus in your 4th house. Lunar eclipses or full moon eclipses are essentially like full moons but on steroids. So this represents a powerful ending of a chapter taking place somewhere in our lives. Now this is occurring in your 4th house, which represents your home life, your family life, your living circumstances, and it also represents your psychological foundations and essentially your sense of emotional security and stability. Now, every time we're looking at a full moon or new moon, and certainly eclipses, we want to be analyzing what the ruler is doing. So because this full moon is taking place in Taurus, we then want to look at where Venus is, because Venus rules over Taurus. So Venus will be in Capricorn in your 12th house, and Venus will be making an exact trine to Uranus in Taurus in your 4th house, and it will be making a sextile to Mars in Scorpio in your 10th house. So this can see you basically experiencing the end of some kind of difficult period in your life when it comes to conflict that you have been experiencing with your family or with certain family members. Now, this could be with a parent, and I say that because your 4th and 10th house axes, which represent the mother and the father figures, are both being activated. Now, Venus rules over your 9th house, which represents father figures or some kind of figure that we respect and trust. So if there is someone in your life, whether they are alive or not, who you've experienced a long-standing issue with, this can finally be put to rest. Now, I'm not saying that you need to forgive this person and make up and then it's all going to be sunshine and daisies. This can literally just be you experiencing a profound sense of peace when it comes to accepting the status of this relationship. Maybe this person is not in your life anymore, whether you don't speak to them, maybe they've already passed on and you had this like long held grudge or this resentment towards how that relationship played out. This full moon eclipse in your 4th house can be extremely healing for you. And I'm saying this because the moon will actually be making a trine to Pluto in Capricorn in your 12th house. So trines represent a healing energy which is harmonious, and essentially Pluto represents the death of something. Now, because it's in your 12th house and it's involving Venus, which represents relationships, this can see you putting these issues to bed or feeling like you can finally move on with them. It's important to note that Venus rules over your 4th house, which represents the mother figure, and it rules over your 9th house, which represents the father figure. Now, not all of us have had traditional upbringings. This can represent you growing up in an orphanage. Maybe you were sent off to boarding school. Maybe you grew up and in foster homes and moved around a lot. Whatever the scenario is, this can see you actually coming to terms with your upbringing and letting it go, and like I said, experiencing a very profound sense of peace. Now, you can actually resolve a conflict with someone who is in your life, and this may be with a mother figure because the mother-child relationship is heavily implicated here. And that is shown by this trine from the moon to Pluto. Now, even if you didn't have difficulties with your mother, if she had difficulties herself, or it's the mother figure, this can be an aunt who raised you or a grandma or whatever. Nonetheless, if she has a lot of issues in her life, this can see her healing on a very deep level and on a very spiritual level. You may come to notice that she has just turned into a different person, but for the better. Now, on a different level, this can see the end of a difficult situation with regard to your living circumstances. So maybe you have been wanting to move out of a family home or with the people that you rent with, or maybe you've got a friend living with you, or someone is living with your family, and this individual or this dynamic has caused a lot of disturbances or disruptions to your sense of peace in the home. So with this full moon making a square to Jupiter in Aquarius in your 1st house, this can see you experiencing freedom or liberation from some kind of difficult living circumstances, like I mentioned. Now, this can see some of you simply coming out of lockdown, and now it's sort of hard for you to readjust or reorient yourself in terms of your, the new reality that you find yourself in. Jupiter rules over your 11th house, which represents your friends, and it also represents your long-term goals and dreams. Jupiter rules over your 2nd house, which represents your finances and resources. So maybe now that you have come out of some kind of lockdown experience, whether this is government imposed or maybe you actually had to stay in your home to rest or recover from something, either way, the end of this chapter can see you maybe struggling to readjust to socializing with other people, or maybe you are adjusting to what you want to do with yourself in the future, or maybe you need to reassess your finances and resources. Either way, I do see this as being a very healing period of time, and it's just reminded me actually of the bear. So this does represent you coming out of hibernation towards the end of November and actually making peace with where you're at. And so Aquarius, that's all I have for you for November 2021. If you enjoyed this horoscope, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more content on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. Enjoy your month ahead and take care.